The Vixnar cub, apex predator of 17 systems, extinct for 3 generations until this clone, just growled at the human maintenance worker, and instead of evacuating, she's making kissing noises at it. Olivia Smith, evacuate immediately. Kyle Thas's voice cracked across every speaker in the xenobiology wing, his 4 manipulator appendages slamming controls in the security hub 3 levels above. His bioluminescent crest flared emergency red as he watched the monitor in absolute horror. The human didn't even glance up. She was crouching down. "Oh, who's a grumpy baby?" Olivia cooed, setting down her toolbox next to the malfunctioning air filtration unit. Did somebody escape their enclosure? Yes, they did. Kyle Thas felt his secondary heart skip. This couldn't be happening. 47 cycles as station director, and he was about to watch a maintenance worker get eviscerated by the most dangerous specimen they'd ever housed. The Galactic Wildlife Rehabilitation Station had handled Zetherian acid spitters, Korth shadow stalkers, even a juvenile void worm. Nothing compared to a Vixnar. "Sir, I'm reading active fear projection." Azila burst through the control room door, her sensor pad flashing crimson warnings. The xenobiologist's head tendrils writhed with agitation. Class 5 telepathic assault. It can project nightmares directly into prey brains at this range. She should be catatonic, or at minimum, experiencing complete psychological shutdown. On screen, Olivia tilted her head at the cub. The creature was the size of an earth tiger. Kaolthas had looked that up when the human file referenced them. With 6 legs, crystalline venomous claws that could punch through hull plating, and a ridge of sensory spines that currently stood fully erect in threat display. Its triple mandible mouth opened, revealing rows of teeth designed to grip struggling prey, while venom did its paralytic work. It growled again. The sound resonated through subsonic and ultrasonic ranges simultaneously, a frequency mix calculated by evolution to trigger primal terror in every sentient species across 17 star systems. Olivia Smith, human, age 32, maintenance technician level 3, absolutely did not care. "Sweetie, that's not very nice," she said, wagging a finger at an apex predator that had evolved over millions of cycles to be the perfect killing machine. "We use our indoor voice." "She's dead," Vex Thule rumbled, materializing beside Kaolthas with security team readiness reports scrolling across his armor interface. The massive Korthian's combat implants were already activated. "Tranquilizer team is 60 seconds out. Neural dampeners charging. Sir, permission to breach with lethal authorization?" "Denied," Kaolthas and Azila shouted simultaneously. "If we breach with aggressive force, it'll trigger hunting instinct." Azila's tendrils nodded with stress. "The cub will kill her in 2.3 seconds. The venom works in 1.7 seconds. Our only option is Olivia." Kaolthas routed his voice through the emergency channel again. "The creature is using telepathic fear projection, Class 5 nightmare induction. You need to—" "I can hear you just fine without the yelling." Olivia's voice came back, utterly casual. She'd found the comm panel and tapped it while keeping her eyes on the cub. "And yeah, I'm picking up some weird vibes from the little guy, but he's just scared." "Scared?" 3 voices harmonized in disbelief. "Well, yeah." Olivia was now sitting cross-legged on the floor. Sitting on the floor. "Look at him. He's puffed up all big doing the whole threat display thing. That's fear aggression 101. Something scared him out of his room, and now he's in a big scary hallway, and here comes a stranger." She made more soft kissing sounds. "It's okay, baby. Nobody's gonna hurt you." The Vixnar cub's sensory spines quivered. Its eye clusters, all 6 of them, focused on the human with what Kael'thas recognized from the behavioral files as confusion. In 17 star systems worth of evolutionary history, prey didn't do this. Prey ran. Azila. Kael'thas's voice dropped to the low-register command tone. Why isn't the fear projection working? The xenobiologist's manipulators flew across her sensor pad. The readings are clear. It's projecting at full strength. Class 5 output. Standard nightmare prey paralysis frequency. It should be flooding her neural pathways with species-specific terror imagery. She looked up, head tendrils straight with shock. Sir, according to this, she is receiving the full telepathic assault. Then why is she cooing at it? Oh, come on. Olivia had pulled something from her maintenance jumpsuit pocket, a ration bar. She broke off a piece. You're just hangry, aren't you? When's the last time somebody fed you, huh? She tossed the piece toward the cub. The Vixnar's triple mandibles snapped, catching it midair. It chewed, swallowed, and took one step closer to the human. No. Kael'thas was already moving, hitting the emergency breach protocol, but Vexthul caught his arm. Sir, look. The cub had stopped. Its sensory spines were lowering. Not fully, still alert, still ready to strike, but definitely lower than combat position. Olivia broke off another piece of ration bar, held it out in her open palm. You want some more? Come on, sweetie. Come get your snack. In the control room, 3 galactic species held their breath collectively as apex predator and maintenance worker regarded each other across 3 meters of corridor that might as well have been the space between sanity and madness. The cub's venom claws retracted. Just slightly. Just enough. It took another step forward. The security team materialized at the corridor junction, weapons raised, targeting lasers painting red dots across the Vixnar cub's crystalline hide. 6 armed personnel in full combat armor, neural disruptors charged and ready. Olivia turned and waved them off like they were interrupting a picnic. Whoa. You're gonna scare him. Scare it? Vexathul's voice boomed through his armor speakers and the comms simultaneously. Miss Smith, that creature is literally bred to hunt sentient prey. Its genetic lineage spans 40 million cycles of evolutionary optimization for killing things that think. The sudden noise and movement sent the cub into immediate threat response. Its sensory spines shot straight up. Venom claws extended with a wet schlick sound, and it spun to face the security team with all 6 eye clusters locked on target. The growl that emerged from its triple mandibles made the previous sound seem like gentle purring. This was the real thing, the sound that preceded the death of prey animals across 17 star systems. Every tactical instinct Vexthul possessed screamed at him to fire. No. Olivia's voice cut through the growl, not loud, not shouting, just firm. She made a sharp downward gesture with her hand, the kind of motion you'd use to command a... The cub stopped mid-growl, tilted its head, and sat down. All 6 legs folded beneath it in a controlled descent that took exactly 1.4 seconds, placing its body in what Kael'thas's threat assessment protocols immediately registered as a non-aggressive posture. That's not. Azila's sensor pad slipped from her manipulators and clattered to the control room floor. That's not in their behavioral profile. What's not in their behavioral profile? Kael'thas couldn't look away from the monitor. Sitting. Azila scrambled to retrieve her pad, pulling up files with frantic gestures. Vixnar don't have submission behaviors. They don't have any behaviors that acknowledge dominance from other species. Their social structure is... Wait, let me confirm. Her head tendrils twisted as she read. Solitary hunters. No pack hierarchy, no submission displays, no appeasement gestures. They're apex predators in the truest sense. They don't even acknowledge each other's dominance except during mating season, and that's purely size-based physical competition. On screen, Olivia was slowly standing up, brushing off her jumpsuit. You're just scared and showing off, aren't you? She kept her voice calm, steady, taking one small step toward the cub. Big, scary people with loud voices and bright, flashy things. I get it. That's a lot. What is she doing? Vexthul's weapon stayed trained on the cub, but his voice carried a note of something Kael'thas had never heard from the combat veteran: uncertainty. She's using what humans call calm, assertive energy. Azila read from her pad, which was now pulling up the human cultural database. It's a technique for handling aggressive animals? Sir, according to this, humans have been doing this for approximately 30,000 Earth cycles. They just project confidence and authority without aggression. That's not how predator psychology works. Kael'thas felt his professional understanding of xenobiology crumbling. You establish dominance through threat display, or you remove yourself from the threat equation. There's no middle ground with apex predators. Olivia took another step. The cub watched her, sensory spine still raised, but no longer at full alert. Its venom claws remained extended. Listen, buddy, Olivia said conversationally. I know you're the big scary monster and all. Very impressive. 10 out of 10, excellent growl. Really felt that one in my bones. She took another step. But here's the thing. You're also, 6 months old? 8? You're basically a teenager having a tantrum in the hallway. She's lecturing it, Vexthul said flatly. Honey, every animal has a hierarchy, Olivia continued, close enough now that the cub could strike in a single lunge. She laughed, the sound somehow warm despite the situation. You just gotta speak their language. And right now, your language is saying, I'm scared and I'll hurt you if you make me. But your body is saying, I really want that snack and maybe you're not so bad. The cub made a sound, not quite a growl, lower and more questioning. Yeah, I thought so. Olivia extended her hand, palm up, the remaining piece of ration bar visible. Come on, baby, let's be friends. In the control room, Azila pulled up another file, her head tendrils rigid with shock. Sir, humans have a classification for this. They call it domestication. They've done it with dozens of apex predators on their homeworld. Wolves, large felines, even aquatic ambush predators. That takes thousands of cycles of genetic selection, Kael'thas protested. That's for species-wide domestication. Azila's voice was barely a whisper. This is individual behavioral modification. They can do it in, according to this, minutes to hours, depending on the animal. On screen, the Vixnar cub was staring at Olivia's outstretched hand. At the first creature in its short cloned existence that hadn't run in terror or attacked with weapons. At a being that somehow looked at the galaxy's most efficient killing machine and saw a scared kid who needed a snack. The cub's venom claws retracted completely. It leaned forward and gently took the food from her palm. The cub chewed the ration bar piece, swallowed, then did something that made every xenobiologist's understanding of predator behavior completely obsolete. It sniffed Olivia's hand, leaned into her touch as she scratched behind its sensory spine ridge, and rolled over, exposing its ventral surface, the softest, most vulnerable part of its anatomy, directly to the human. Complete silence on all comms. Vexthul spoke first, his voice stripped of all military bearing. That's a submission display. They don't have submission displays. Well, this little guy does. Olivia was now scratching the cub's belly with both hands, her voice pitched into that universal tone every species apparently used for cute things. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Who's a good apex predator? You are. You're just a big softy. The cub's rear legs kicked reflexively, a pleasure response that had absolutely zero documentation in any Vixnar behavioral study ever conducted. Kyle Thas hit the emergency consultation channel with all 4 manipulators simultaneously. Get me xenopsychology. Get me comparative predator studies. Get me someone who can explain what I'm watching. 90 seconds later, a holographic projection shimmered into existence in the control room. Dr. Zillax, the Galactic Institute's foremost expert on predator psychology, appeared mid-sentence to whatever he'd been doing before the emergency summons. Told you I'm not to be disturbed during... He stopped, looked at the monitor feed. His chromatic patches cycled through confusion, disbelief, and something approaching existential crisis. That's impossible. That's what we said. Kyolthos gestured frantically at the screen. Vixnar psychology doesn't include submission to larger predators. Zillax moved closer to the projection field, studying the feed. They don't acknowledge size-based hierarchy outside their species. They certainly don't present vulnerable body positions to potential threats. This violates 17 papers I've published personally. I'm not a larger predator. Olivia's voice came through clearly as she helped the cub roll back onto its legs. I'm just calm. Animals pick up on energy, emotional state, body language, pheromones, all that stuff. If you come at them with fear or aggression, they respond in kind. If you're just chill, they can be too. Show me your credentials, Zillax demanded. My what? Your xenopsychology doctorate, your behavioral studies certification, your qualifications for handling Class 5 predator specimens. Olivia laughed. Buddy, I fix air filters. Back home I work at an animal shelter on weekends. Mostly pit bulls. What? Azila's head tendrils straightened. Is a pit bull? Earth canine breed. Kael'thas pulled up the file with shaking manipulators. Descended from persistence hunters, bred for... oh no. Bred for combat against large prey, including Earth megafauna. Bite force of 1/800 newtons, classified as dangerous in multiple human jurisdictions. They're sweethearts, Olivia interrupted, now walking slowly down the corridor with the cub following her like a... there was no other word for it. Like a pet. They just get a bad reputation because people don't understand them. Same thing here. You've got this gorgeous baby, probably been in that enclosure his whole life. Nobody showed him that not everything is scary. The cub play-bowed. The hunting crouch that should have preceded a lethal pounce had been transformed into an invitation for interaction. It's playing with her. Vexthul lowered his weapon completely. Sir, I fought Vixnar during the border wars. They don't play. They hunt. It's a cub, Olivia said, reasonably. All babies play. It's how they learn. She crouched down, and the cub immediately came closer, making that questioning sound again. From somewhere in its enclosure, the door still hung open. It had retrieved what looked like an enrichment toy, a crystalline sphere that it dropped at Olivia's feet. It brought her an object. Azila was scanning Olivia frantically with every sensor she had. No pheromones, no telepathic abilities, standard mammalian biology, elevated oxytocin levels, but that's normal for human-animal bonding. She's not doing anything except being calm and firm. Olivia picked up the sphere. rolled it down the corridor. The cub bounded after it with clear enthusiasm. You need boundaries. No means no, even if you're an apex predator. Consistency, confidence, love. Love? Dr. Zilax's chromatic patches flashed red. It's a Vixnar, a cloned killing machine. They don't have the neurological structures for bonding. Yeah? Olivia had reached the enclosure door. The cub dropped the sphere at her feet again, looking up at her expectantly. Then, what do you call this? She stepped inside the enclosure. The cub followed her, curled up next to her legs, and began making a sound that could only be described as purring. We need to reclassify everything, Azila whispered. Every predator study, every behavioral model. Sir, if humans can do this with a Vixnar in minutes, then what else can they do? Kyle Thas finished the thought, watching Olivia scratch behind the cub's sensory spines while it made sounds of contentment that had never been recorded in any database. On Earth, Olivia had mentioned, they lived with dozens of apex predators, not studied them, not observed them from behind barriers, lived with them. The implications were staggering. 20 minutes later, Olivia sat in the station's main debriefing room, surrounded by increasingly distressed xenobiologists, security personnel, and one very confused holographic expert who kept checking his instruments to confirm he wasn't having a stress-induced hallucination. Explain. Kyle Thas had his manipulators folded in what his species used for trying very hard to remain professional. How is this possible? And I want the complete explanation. Olivia shrugged, sipping the coffee someone had brought her. You guys never had predators as companions? The silence that followed could have powered a singularity drive. Companions? Azila's head tendrils formed a knot of confusion. You mean, like working animals? Beasts of burden? No, I mean like friends. Family. Olivia pulled up her personal data pad, scrolling through images. Here's my dog Max back home. He's descended from wolves, which are pack hunters that took down megafauna. Here's my roommate's cat Duchess, African wildcat lineage, solo ambush predator. My cousin does shark cage diving every summer. My uncle rehabilitates bears. We're really good at the whole I'm not food, I'm friend thing. Dr. Zilax's chromatic patches had gone completely white. You swim with oceanic apex predators voluntarily? Well, yeah, they're beautiful. Mostly they ignore you if you're not acting like prey. Olivia scrolled further. Oh, here's from the zoo trip last year. That's me next to the tiger enclosure. Different species than your cub, but similar body language patterns. Vexthul leaned forward, his combat implants whirring as they focused on the images. Mrs. Smith, humans are also apex predators, aren't they? I mean, we're pretty good at the whole survival thing, Olivia admitted. Endurance hunters, tool users, cooperative pack tactics. We didn't get to the top of Earth's food chain by being pushovers. That's it. Azila's manipulators flew across her pad. The cub recognized you as a peer, not prey. Apex predators across the galaxy show mutual respect to other apex species. It's basic threat assessment. You don't waste energy fighting another top-tier predator unless necessary. But that doesn't explain the submission display, Kyle Thas interjected. Or the bonding behavior, or the... He gestured helplessly at the monitor still showing the cub curled up contentedly in its enclosure. The purring. That's the other thing. Azila pulled up a rapidly expanding file on human evolution. Look at this. Humans have what they call a cross-species empathy matrix. They can read and respond to social cues from almost any animal. Mammals, reptiles, avians, even some aquatic species. It's how they domesticated so many different types of predators. They literally understand what the animals are feeling. You're telling me, Vexthul said slowly, that humans can just befriend anything? Olivia laughed, nearly spilling her coffee. I mean, not everything. Jerry in accounting got bit by a space gecko last week. Turns out those things really don't like being picked up. And I tried to pet what I thought was a cute, fuzzy creature in the loading bay. Kael'thas had to explain it was actually a colonial organism that finds touch painful. That was a month ago, Kael'thas said faintly. You're still trying to pet unknown organisms? Old habits. Olivia grinned. But scared babies? Yeah, that's universal. Doesn't matter if they're human babies, puppy babies, or galaxy-destroying predator babies. They all need the same things: safety, food, consistency, and someone who's not afraid of them. Demonstrate, Dr. Zelax demanded. I need to see this again, for documentation purposes. They returned to the xenobiology wing in a group, Olivia leading the way, like this was a casual field trip. When they reached the enclosure, the cub was already at the barrier, all 6 eye clusters locked on her. Hey, sweetie, you being good? Olivia entered the enclosure with the confidence of someone walking into their own living room. The cub bounded over immediately, doing the playbow again. Okay, watch this. Olivia held up her hand. Sit. The cub sat down. It laid down, all 6 legs folding. Roll over. It rolled over, exposing its belly. Good baby. Olivia scratched its belly vigorously, then pulled out another ration bar. Now we work on impulse control. Stay. She placed the bar on the ground. The cub's eye clusters locked onto it with laser focus, but it didn't move. Stay. Stay. Okay, get it. The cub pounced on the treat with obvious delight. It learned 5 commands in under a minute. Azila's voice was barely audible. The previous training regimen took 3 months and achieved 0 results. That's because you were using fear-based training, Olivia said, now playing tug-of-war with the cub using a reinforced rope toy. You can't scare something that's already scared. You need trust first, then boundaries, then training. It's animal behavior, 101. We don't have that course, Kael'thas said quietly. We don't have anything like that course. Well, Olivia gave the cub one final scratch before stepping out of the enclosure. Maybe you should start one. Kael'thas watched the cub settle down by the barrier, clearly waiting for Olivia to return, making soft sounds of contentment that would probably give Dr. Zelax nightmares for months. We need to completely restructure our xenobiology approach, he said finally. Everything we thought we knew about predator behavior, it's not wrong exactly. It's just incomplete. Incomplete because you never had humans, Vexthul rumbled. The species that looked at wolves and thought, good dog, Azila added. Olivia just smiled. We prefer best dog, actually. 1 week later, Olivia Smith's official title changed to Interspecies Relations Consultant, Level 5. She still fixed air filters between sessions. Just remember, she told a group of nervous xenobiology staff gathered around the Vixnar enclosure. No prey energy, lots of confidence, and belly rubs solve most problems. The cub, now officially socialized, healthy, and displaying what the behavioral reports could only describe as inexplicable playfulness, demonstrated a perfect sight stay, while Olivia walked the staff through proper interaction protocols. The station had implemented what they were calling human touch methodologies for difficult cases, and the results were already spreading through the galactic scientific community like wildfire. Azila had practically taken up residence in the human cultural database, emerging periodically to share fascinating facts about Earth animal domestication. Did you know they befriended wolves 30,000 cycles ago? Before they had advanced tools, they just decided to be friends with pack hunters. Vexthul, initially skeptical, had tried Olivia's techniques on an aggressive Corthian ridge spine that had been scheduled for relocation due to unmanageable temperament. The creature was now following him around like a puppy, and the veteran soldier seemed personally offended by how easy it had been. The Galactic Council sent another request, Kael'thas announced, entering the training area with a datapad. 17 star systems want human consultation for their wildlife rehabilitation programs. Olivia didn't look up from rewarding the cub with treats. Sure, but I'm still hourly and I need dental. Later, back in the xenobiology wing, Olivia returned to the air filtration unit she'd originally come to fix. The Vixnar cub immediately perked up, pressing against the transparent barrier and pawing at it, hopefully. After work, buddy. Some of us have jobs. She laughed, pulling out her tools. In the control room, Kael'thas watched the monitor and shook his head. The species that befriended wolves strikes again. The cub made a questioning sound, then settled down to wait, all 6 eye clusters tracking Olivia's every movement with what could only be called devotion. Around them, the station crew went about their duties, slowly accepting that humans had just casually added Galaxy's deadliest predator to their list of animals that made good companions. Olivia hummed while she worked, occasionally tossing a treat through the barrier. "Good boy," she said, not looking up from the filter panel. "Now let me finish this vent, and we'll play fetch." The apex predator of 17 star systems wagged its tail equivalent and waited patiently for its human to be done with work. Just like every Earth dog had done for 30,000 years.